What if your deepest thoughts, your emotions, aren't just stuck inside your head? What if they're actually, actively shaping the world around you, even your financial reality?
It's a huge question, and it's something I think a lot of people grapple with.
Definitely. It's a question I've certainly pondered myself. And Dr. Joe Dispenza offers this really unique framework for thinking about it.
Yeah, he really does. It's a framework that consistently pushes the boundaries, doesn't it? Pushes our usual understanding of consciousness, personal power.
Yeah.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's such a prominent figure in this field, and he really champions this idea. He explores that deep connection between our mind, our brain, and, well, the very fabric of our manifested reality.
Right.
He asks us to consider something pretty radical, actually. What if we aren't just passive observers of our lives? What if we're the architects?
Active architects. I like that. And that's really our mission today here on the Deep Dive. We're not just going to be, dissecting abstract ideas. We want to trace a path.
Dispenza's path, specifically.
Exactly. How your everyday thoughts might be subtly trapping you, perhaps without you even realizing it. And then how you can actively start to dismantle those limitations and build a new future. Specifically, we're looking at this with an eye towards financial abundance.
Which is a big focus for many people exploring his work.
It is. So for this deep dive, we've pulled together quite a rich tapestry of sources. We've got excerpts from his own blog posts, things like Becoming Divine, Evolve Your Brain, Mind is the Brain at Work.
1 Foot in the Quantum World, Part 2, The Heart and the Brain Tango, The Role of Brainwaves in Meditation, Part 2.
Yeah.
Lots of his core stuff.
Yeah, the foundational pieces. And to round out that picture, we've also drawn from some really insightful interviews. There's one called Transform Your Mind to Manifest and Attract Financial Abundance with Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Very.
An article summarizing his key insights like 50 Joe Dispenza quotes to awaken your greatness. But also, and I think this is crucial,
The real world stuff.
exactly, real-world community discussions from places like online forums. We looked at some fascinating, often really candid threads like, please share your successes and frustrations with Dr. Dispenza's meditations, and another one, financial success stories.
Yeah, getting those perspectives is important. It shows how people are actually engaging with these ideas, the ups and the downs.
Absolutely. So our goal for you, our listener, is to try and extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from all these different sources. We really want to help you understand what Dr. Dispenza actually means when he talks about transforming your mind to attract financial abundance.
And importantly, what the reported experiences of people following his methods actually reveal. What are they finding?
Right. So we'll be exploring the sort of scientific underpinnings he proposes, the energetic component he emphasizes so much, the practical tools like meditation.
And finally, how it all supposedly connects, or seems to connect for some, to real-world outcomes, especially financially.
Okay, let's get into it.
Sounds good.
So to really get this idea of rewiring ourselves for abundance, Dispenza asks us to first grasp a concept that seems, well, deceptively simple on the surface. Mind is the brain at work.
Right. It sounds almost like a catchy phrase.
It does. But for him, it's not just a poetic turn of phrase or, some motivational slogan. It's the biological bedrock. It's foundational to everything he teaches.
Absolutely. And it's a premise that I think once you truly let it sink in, it can profoundly shift your whole perspective on self-change.
How so? What's the big shift there?
Well, what makes his starting point so different, maybe revolutionary, isn't just the idea that thoughts influence biology. I mean, lots of ancient philosophies, modern self-help, they touch on that,
Yes,
right?
mind-body connection.
Exactly. But it's his insistence that the mind eyes the brain at work. It makes the connection literal, physical, immediate.
Okay, so not just influence, but is.
Precisely. It's not abstract anymore. It means your deepest prejudices, your most ingrained habits, like maybe procrastinating on financial planning, or even your most fervent hopes. They aren't just ideas floating around in some non-physical space. Right. Instead, they are active electrical patterns, constantly firing and physically wiring your brain.
Wow.
So this immediately shifts the whole conversation. It's not just philosophical anymore. It becomes tangible, neurological. It implies that real mental change has to be physical change in the brain.
That is a critical distinction, isn't it? So when we talk about changing your mind using his framework, we're not just thinking different thoughts in a vacuum.
Nope.
We're physically altering the structure.
Yeah.
The actual hardware in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a powerful idea. It means those abstract thoughts, those feelings, even our automatic reactions, maybe that little jolt of anxiety when a bill arrives,
Hmm.
they aren't just floating around. They are physically wired into these really intricate neural networks inside our brain.
Hardwired pathways.
And these networks, these pathways, they aren't just passive structures sitting there. They're actively dictating how we perceive reality.
Yes. Filtering everything.
And consequently, what reality we tend to experience over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like your brain is this incredibly complex supercomputer.
Yeah, good analogy.
And your thoughts are the programs running on it. And running those programs physically alters the wiring, setting the
Yeah.
parameters for your whole perceived world. So if your current program is, I don't know, I always struggle with money, or making money is hard.
Then your brain is literally wired, physically configured to seek out and interpret experiences that confirm that belief. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, neurologically speaking.
Right. You see what you're wired to see.
Exactly. And this leads us right into the really, truly revolutionary aspect of the brain's capacity for transformation, neuroplasticity.
Ah, neuroplasticity. We hear that term a lot.
We do. And Dr. Dispenza really highlights this in his work, like in Evolve Your Brain and Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. Think of your brain, maybe not as a finished sculpture, right?
Yeah.
But more like a living, breathing city that's constantly under construction.
Okay, I like that visual.
It's not just a metaphor, though. Dispenza, drawing on neuroscience, emphasizes that the brain isn't static. It's not fixed after a certain age. It has this incredible ability to literally reorganize itself
Throughout life.
throughout your entire life by continuously forming new neural connections, strengthening pathways you use, or even pruning away ones you don't.
Pruning away, like letting old roads fall into disrepair.
Kind of, yeah. Every new thought you have consistently, every new skill you learn, every deliberate emotional shift, it physically remodels your internal landscape.
So even those really deep-seated habits or patterns of thought that feel ancient, they aren't permanent fixtures.
According to this model, no. They might be deeply ingrained, well-worn paths, but they aren't set in stone.
Okay, see, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because it means those ingrained habits, maybe biting your nails when stressed about finances, or those limiting beliefs.
Like, I'm not good with money, or rich people are greedy.
Yeah, exactly. Or those emotional responses that keep us stuck in cycles of lack, maybe feeling hopeless or resentful about money.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't just psychological quirks. They're not just character flaws we have to live with. Dispenza is suggesting they are physical patterns,
Etched pathways in the brain.
deeply etched pathways. But the profound insight, the hope in it, is that through conscious, deliberate effort, and that's key, right? The conscious effort.
Absolutely crucial. It doesn't happen passively.
Through that conscious effort, these physical patterns can be rewired. You can literally create a new mind, a new set of dominant neural pathways, and in doing so, create a new life.
It's like the ultimate internal renovation project.
Totally. And you get to be the architect, deciding on the new layout, the new architecture of your own
Yeah.
consciousness.
And to illustrate this, just think about how often, maybe unconsciously, you think the same thoughts or react with the same emotions day after day.
Oh, yeah. The mental loops.
Especially concerning areas like money, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's that constant background hum of worry about bills, or the ingrained belief that real wealth is just for other people, not for you.
Right, that feeling of it being out of reach.
Each time you engage in those familiar thought patterns, you're essentially sending electricity down the same neural pathways. You're strengthening them, making them more efficient, making it easier, almost automatic, for those thoughts and emotions to fire again.
Like paving a road, making it smoother and faster to travel down that same old path.
Exactly. The more you use it, the deeper the ruts become. And that leads almost inevitably to predictable reality, a reality often dictated entirely by your past experiences and conditioning.
But, and this is the crucial but,
Yes. Dr. Dispenza emphasizes that conscious intention and new experiences, especially the kind cultivated through practices like his specific meditations, can forge entirely new pathways.
build a new road.
You can, in essence, build a brand new road. Maybe it starts as just a little path, but with repetition, it gets wider, smoother. And this new road leads to entirely new possibilities for your life.
So even if my past experiences programmed my brain for scarcity,
Your conscious, present moment focus, your intention to think and feel differently now, has the power to reprogram it. You can start wiring it for a different desired future, like abundance.
Okay, so it's definitely not just slapping some positive affirmations on top of the old wiring.
No, it's deeper. It's actively, physically, neurologically reshaping that internal landscape, a complete internal shift.
Right, so once we kind of wrap our heads around that profound neurological connection, the next logical step Dispenza explores is the energy behind these thoughts.
Ah, yes, the emotional component.
Exactly. Specifically, the often overlooked power of emotion, which he describes so vividly as the heart and the brain tango.
I love that phrase. And it's such a crucial point because this is where he really elevates the discussion beyond just, cognitive restructuring or changing your thoughts.
Us.
Well, the heart and the brain tango emphasizes this critical interplay, this dance between the brain's cognitive processes, our thoughts, our intentions, our analytical mind, and the heart's electromagnetic field.
The heart's electromagnetic field. So we're not just talking about the heart as a pump here.
Not at all. He highlights research showing the heart generates a significant electromagnetic field, much larger than the brain's, actually. And it plays a role as an energetic generator, sending signals throughout the body.
Okay.
And what's fascinating here, what's key to his work, is that it's not just what you think, the content of your thoughts, like, I want more money. It's crucially how you feel about those thoughts. The emotion carries the charge.
Okay. So it's not enough to simply think about being financially abundant, sitting there repeating, I am wealthy.
Mhm.
You have to actually feel it.
Precisely. That's the core of it. Dispenza teaches that elevated emotions, and he's specific about these. Gratitude, joy, love, compassion, appreciation, awe.
The really good feeling ones.
Yes, the expansive ones. They're not just pleasant, subjective experiences floating around, according to his teachings. And he points to research on heart rate variability, HRV.
HRV, yeah, I've heard of that.
These elevated emotions actually create a coherent heart rhythm. Your heart starts beating in a more organized, harmonious, sine wave-like pattern.
Okay, so smooth rhythm.
A smooth, coherent rhythm. And when your heart beats like that, it profoundly influences your brainwave states. It pulls the brain into coherence with it.
So the heart leads the brain, in a way.
In this energetic dance, yes, there's a synchronization. And this synchronicity between the coherent heart and the coherent brain then creates what he calls a powerful energetic signature.
Energetic signature.
Yeah, think of it like a unique frequency or vibration your entire body is emitting, like a radio tower broadcasting a specific signal based on your internal state.
And that signal is made up of.
It's the combined message of your clear intention from the mind, what you want to create, and the elevated emotion from the heart, the feeling of it already being real, mind and heart working together.
Okay, wow. And this energetic signature, this combination of clear intention and elevated emotion, this is what Dispenza suggests we are constantly broadcasting out.
Constantly broadcasting into what he refers to as the quantum field or the unified field.
Right. So it's like our internal state becomes this broadcast signal, sending out a specific frequency.
And the idea is that this frequency attracts resonant experiences, desired outcomes from that field of potential. It moves us away from just passively wishing or hoping.
Towards actively influencing,
Yeah.
using our internal state as the mechanism.
Exactly. Which leads us right into this concept he calls becoming divine, which he discusses on his blog.
Becoming divine. That sounds lofty.
It can sound that way initially, but it's really about a state of elevated consciousness and being. It goes far beyond merely wishing for something or just visualizing it occasionally.
It's more than just mental pictures.
Much more. It's about actually embodying the desired future now, in your present state of being. It's not just a mental exercise. It's a full body, full mind, full emotion transformation.
So the divine part isn't necessarily religious then?
Not in a traditional sense, no. It refers more to accessing a state of being where you are in conscious command of your own creative power, aligning with a higher potential within yourself, maybe your future self. It's about transcending the limitations of your known past self.
Self-defined by current circumstances.
Exactly. And stepping into the identity, the feeling, the energy of the person you aspire to be, the one who already has what you desire.
Okay, so becoming divine is less about achieving some distant spiritual goal or even just trying to be good, and more about transcending the analytical mind.
That's a huge part of it, that part of us that's constantly analyzing, judging, worrying, trying to predict the future based only on past experiences and those limiting beliefs we talked about.
The part that says, well, I've never been wealthy before, so how could I be now?
Exactly that part. It's about moving beyond those predictable patterns of our past self, the person whose identity is completely tied up with their current bank balance or job title,
Hmm.
and instead stepping into a new state of being, a state where you genuinely feel and think and maybe even start to act, as if the desired reality, like financial abundance, has already manifested.
Even if the bank account doesn't show it yet.
Especially then. You're not trying to be abundant. You are abundant in your inner world first. You generate the feeling internally.
Wow. The implication there is huge, isn't it? It means shifting your identity
Yeah.
at a really fundamental level.
It does. You're no longer defining yourself as the person who wants abundance or who hopes for it or maybe who struggles endlessly for it.
You become the person who is abundant.
You embody the feelings. What would financial freedom feel like? Security, joy, generosity. You cultivate those feelings now, even before the external evidence appears.
So it's not fake it till you make it in a superficial way.
Not really. It's more like generating the internal reality first, generating the emotion of the future you want now in the present. And the idea is that this profound internal shift influences your energetic signature, which then influences the quantum field to draw that future to you.
It's a redefinition of who you are, starting from the inside out. Believing it before you see it.
Believing it by feeling it, that's the key distinction he makes.
Okay, so it's this complete internal shift that he believes then reverberates externally. That's a massive leap from just, traditional goal setting or budgeting.
It's a different paradigm altogether.
But then the big question is, how? How do we actually do all this? How do we facilitate this neuroplastic change, embody these elevated states, create this coherence?
Right. The practical application.
Dr. Dispenza points to one primary gateway, one main tool for all of this, and that's meditation.
Yes, meditation is central to his methodology.
But he really grounds this practice in science, doesn't he? Especially when he talks about the role of brain waves in meditation, part 2, and references scientific findings like studies showing large effects of brief meditation intervention on ED spectra. He's trying to show it's not just mystical.
That's right. In Dispenza's framework, meditation isn't just about relaxing or clearing your mind, although that can be a side effect. It's designed as a precise scientific tool to intentionally shift your brainwave states.
Okay, brainwave states. Explain that a bit more.
Well, our normal waking state right now, as we're talking, actively thinking, analyzing, maybe worrying about things, dealing with the external world, that's typically characterized by beta brainwaves.
Beta, okay. Active thinking.
Active, often analytical, sometimes stressed thinking. This is the state where our conscious critical mind is usually dominant, and often it's just reiterating old patterns, old programs, old limiting beliefs. Can't do this, not good enough, it won't work.
The usual chatter.
Exactly. But through meditation, specifically the kind he teaches, which involve certain breathing techniques, focusing attention inwardly, individuals can learn to consciously transition into slower brainwave states, primarily alpha and then even deeper into theta.
Alpha and theta. And why is that important? What happens in those states?
Because alpha and theta brainwave states are associated with deeper states of relaxation, yes, but also heightened creativity, intuition, and critically access to the subconscious mind.
Ah, the subconscious, the operating system.
Precisely. That's where the real magic happens, or rather, the scientific rewiring, as he'd put it. By reaching these deeper states, alpha and theta, you can effectively bypass the critical conscious mind.
The gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper. That part that's often filled with self-doubt, skepticism, or those ingrained limiting beliefs about money, for example. The part that says, this is silly, this won't work.
Right.
By quieting that analytical mind, you get more direct access to the subconscious programming itself. It's like gaining administrator access to your mind's operating system instead of just using the standard user interface.
Okay, I get that. So you can actually change the underlying code.
That's precisely where the true rewiring occurs, according to the model. And think of your subconscious as this vast, powerful computer program running your life, but it's running based on old data.
Data accumulated from past experiences, traumas, childhood conditioning, societal messages.
All of it. Beta brainwaves tend to keep you stuck running that same old, often limiting program. But by intentionally shifting down into alpha or theta through meditation, you gain access to rewrite that code.
So you can interrupt the old patterns.
You can interrupt those old patterns of thought and emotion, the ones that keep you maybe in a cycle of financial lack or worry, and begin to consciously, deliberately lay down new ones. New neural pathways for abundance, for worthiness, for creativity.
Okay.
This allows you to truly transcend the old self, the programmed self, and start creating the new self. And his meditations often incorporate specific tools, breathing techniques to alter physiology, focusing attention on different parts of the body or space, using repetitive affirmations or visualizations, all designed to facilitate these brainwave shifts and imprint the subconscious. It makes the process tangible, repeatable.
Okay, so it's a structured process, which brings us to this idea of transcending and creating that happens in his meditations. He guides people to transcend the body, the environment, and time.
Yes, that's a core instruction in many of his guided meditations.
It sounds incredibly profound, almost abstract, but what does that practically mean for someone, sitting down on their cushion trying to manifest financial abundance? How do you transcend your body?
Practically, it means consciously deciding to disengage your attention from the constant stream of sensory input coming from your physical body.
Like ignoring the itch on your nose.
Exactly. Or the discomfort in your back, the feeling of hunger, the awareness of fatigue. You're intentionally withdrawing your attention away from these familiar physical anchors that keep you rooted in the known physical reality. You become nobody.
Okay, and transcending the environment.
That means moving your awareness beyond your immediate surroundings. The sounds of traffic outside, the sight of your familiar room even with eyes closed, the temperature of the air on your skin. You stop orienting yourself to the external world. You become nowhere.
Detaching from the external cues.
Yes, and perhaps most importantly, transcending time. This means letting go of dwelling on past memories, especially past failures or struggles like previous financial difficulties, and also releasing anxieties or projections about the future, like worrying about next month's rent.
So stop replaying the past and stop rehearsing the future.
Precisely. You bring your awareness fully, completely into the present moment, the now. You become no time. The goal of these three, nobody, nowhere, no time, is to enter a state of pure present moment awareness, a field of pure potential, pure consciousness.
Where you are no longer defined or limited by your physical body, your external circumstances, or the linear progression of past, present, future.
You've stepped out of the known into the unknown.
So it's really about getting out of your own way, isn't it? Getting beyond the conditioned self.
In a very literal sense, yes. Quieting the personality tied to the body-mind in this 3D reality.
And once you're in that pure, timeless, bodiless state of potential, what happens then? How do you leverage that for something as seemingly concrete as financial abundance?
Well, in that transcendent state, free from the dictates of the past and the noise of the analytical mind, the idea is that you can impress your new intentions and, crucially, those elevated emotions directly onto the subconscious mind and the quantum field.
It's like planting new seeds in really fertile ground.
Exactly. Seeds of possibility. You are, in effect, programming a new future by consciously choosing what thoughts and feelings you want to experience and embody as if it's already happened.
Go for financial abundance.
It means vividly imagining and feeling. The feeling is paramount, the emotions you would associate with having that abundance. What does true financial freedom feel like? Security, ease, joy, generosity, gratitude.
You generate those feelings right there in the
on.
meditation.
Yes, as if it's already your reality, right now. You're not waiting for the external world to change to feel good. You're feeling good now to change the external world. The objective is to move from the known, past what you've already experienced, what your brain is hardwired for, to an unknown future, the future you intend to create.
By becoming it energetically first.
Exactly. By entering this state of pure potential, accessing the quantum field, new possibilities can be accessed, imprinted emotionally, and then, ideally, begin to manifest or materialize in your physical reality. It's an active, conscious, repetitive process of becoming something new. Done daily, he suggests, it can literally change your destiny.
Wow. It really does sound like a complete reprogramming of your internal operating system with the goal of creating a different external reality. That's a powerful framework.
It is. Deeply transformative if practiced consistently.
Okay, so with these foundational principles laid out, the brain-mind link, the power of elevated emotion, meditation as the tool, let's bring it back more explicitly to our specific focus today. How does Dr. Dispenza apply all of this to attracting financial abundance? I mean, he has that whole interview dedicated to it. Transform your mind to manifest and attract financial abundance with Dr. Joe Dispenza. So he's clearly making that connection direct.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That interview and his teachings truly make it unequivocally clear that this approach to financial abundance is not about traditional methods. It's not about stock tips or budgeting spreadsheets or investment strategies.
Although those things might have their place, presumably.
Of course, practical action is often part of it, but his core focus is internal. It's about cultivating what he calls an abundance consciousness,
Abundance consciousness, okay.
which involves a deep internal transformation. It's about changing those long-held, often completely subconscious beliefs you might have about money itself, about your own inherent value, about whether you even deserve wealth or success.
Beliefs we might not even know we have.
Very often, yes. Many people carry unconscious programs of scarcity or lack or limitation, maybe inherited from family patterns, cultural conditioning, past negative experiences.
Like hearing money doesn't grow on trees over and over.
Exactly. Or believing that money is inherently dirty or the root of all evil, or that pursuing wealth makes you a bad person, or simply feeling deep down, I'm not the kind of person who gets rich.
Right. These deep-seated programs.
Dispenza's approach aims squarely at dismantling these. It's about aligning your internal energetic state, your thoughts and feelings, with the feeling of financial freedom, financial well-being, not just the intellectual idea of it,
So moving from a state of wanting money or lacking money.
to a state of energetically having it or being abundant first internally.
And the implication here, which seems absolutely central to his whole model, is that your external financial circumstances, they aren't random. They're often a direct reflection, like a mirror, of your internal beliefs and your dominant energetic state.
That's the core premise. If you unconsciously hold beliefs steeped in scarcity or unworthiness or struggle around money,
Then your external reality will tend to mirror those patterns back to you. You'll experience more scarcity, more struggle.
but conversely, by changing that internal programming, by cultivating feelings of abundance, gratitude, worthiness, the external can shift. And in his view, based on the energetic principles, it will shift.
You're literally changing your money mindset from the inside out, affecting not just your thoughts, but your actual energetic vibration, your frequency.
Which then, according to his quantum model, influences what you attract from that field of possibilities. You start resonating with abundance instead of lack.
Okay. This is where, as you said, the rubber meets the road for many people trying this, and it brings us to those real-world experiences we found in the online communities.
Yeah, the Reddit discussions like financial success stories and the one about both successes and frustrations.
So important to look at both, isn't it?
Mm.
To get a balanced picture. It's not just theory. People are out there doing this work.
Absolutely, and understand the nuances, the challenges, not just the highlights.
Okay, so let's talk successes first.
Yeah.
Was there a particularly striking example of a reported financial transformation in the sources?
There was one story shared titled something like "Something Clicked," and she moved from poverty to abundance. It was quite detailed.
Tell me about it.
It was shared by someone who said they'd been doing the work for a long time. They described a woman they knew who had struggled financially her entire adult life, always working hard, multiple jobs sometimes, but just never getting ahead, stuck in a cycle of debt and worry.
Sounds familiar for many people.
Right. So this woman started doing Dispenza's morning meditations consistently, really focusing not just on visualizing money, but on embodying the feeling of financial security, of worthiness, of ease around money.
So cultivating those elevated emotions.
Exactly. Gratitude for abundance she didn't physically have yet, and she did this for several months. Then she described this distinct moment during a meditation where, as she put it, something clicked inside her.
Like an internal shift.
A profound internal shift. It wasn't like money suddenly fell from the sky, but her perception of herself, her sense of possibility, her feeling of deservingness that changed fundamentally in that moment.
Okay. And then what happened externally?
Shortly after this internal click, an old acquaintance, someone she hadn't spoken to in ages, unexpectedly reached out. This acquaintance proposed a business opportunity, something she'd never considered before, perfectly aligned with her skills, but the old her would have immediately dismissed it out of self-doubt or fear.
But the new her didn't.
The new her, feeling differently inside, saw it as a possibility, felt capable, and said yes. According to the story, this partnership quickly took off and led to her first six-figure income year. It completely transformed her financial reality, and she described it feeling almost effortless, divinely guided, like it flowed directly from that internal shift she'd cultivated.
Wow. That's a powerful anecdote, a direct link between the inner work and a very tangible outer result.
It is. And it wasn't an isolated story, although maybe one of the more dramatic ones shared. Common themes you see in other reported success stories from the community include that persistence.
Right, sticking with the meditation.
Often for months, sometimes even years, before a significant breakthrough occurs. It's rarely overnight. Many people report not necessarily just sudden windfalls, although that happens sometimes.
Like unexpected inheritances or lottery wins.
Yeah, there were a few stories like that. One person shared how they diligently visualized being debt-free, really feeling immense gratitude for it daily, and then received an inheritance from a distant relative they barely knew, exactly enough to clear all their debts.
Incredible.
But often, it's more about unexpected opportunities arising, new career paths opening up seemingly out of nowhere, creative ideas for businesses or passive income streams suddenly popping into their heads during meditation.
So it's like the internal shift somehow opens doors externally that just weren't visible before, or they weren't receptive to them before.
Yeah, that's often how it's described. An internal shift in perception and energy that allows them to recognize and act on opportunities differently. These are powerful testimonies, suggesting internal work can lead to external results.
But, as we said, it's crucial to acknowledge the other side. It's not all instant success and smooth sailing, is it?
Not at all.
The community discussions also reveal common frustrations. What are some of the recurring challenges people face when trying to apply these principles, especially for finances?
Probably the most frequently mentioned frustration is just difficulty maintaining consistency with the meditation practice itself.
Sticking with it day after day.
Exactly. People report struggling to find the time, or finding their minds are just too busy, too restless, or they get discouraged when they don't see immediate dramatic results.
Impatience sets in.
Yeah. I remember one Reddit user lamenting something like, I've been doing the walking meditation for 3 weeks, really trying to feel abundant, but my bills are still piling up. Am I doing it wrong? Or is this just not for me?
That really highlights that human desire for quick fixes, doesn't it?
It does, whereas Dispenza constantly emphasizes that breaking deeply ingrained neural patterns, habits of thought and emotion that have been running for decades, and forging new ones, that takes time. It takes patience, repetition, unwavering dedication, especially when the outer reality hasn't caught up yet.
What other frustrations come up?
Another common one is skepticism. Intellectually grasping the ideas, maybe finding the science intriguing, but really struggling to feel those elevated emotions genuinely.
Finding it hard to feel grateful for abundance when you're worried about eviction.
Precisely. It can feel like lying to yourself or just too disconnected from their tangible, stressful reality. People struggle to truly believe in a future that isn't yet physically present, to generate the feeling without the experience.
The analytical mind fights back.
The analytical mind kicks in hard. Some also express frustration with feeling like they're trying too hard, forcing it, creating more tension rather than allowing the process to unfold with ease and trust.
Straining versus allowing.
Exactly. It's a reminder that while the principles might sound straightforward, the actual application requires discipline, yes, but also surrender, patience, and a real willingness to suspend disbelief and transcend the analytical mind's constant doubts and criticisms.
So these community experiences, both positive and challenging, offer really valuable insights, don't they?
Yeah.
They show the commitment required.
Definitely. They underscore that this isn't presented as a magic bullet, but as a profound path of self-transformation that then, for some who stick with it, seems to yield remarkable external results, including financial ones. But it's a marathon, not a sprint.
A long-term play.
Yeah.
Okay, now to really grasp the, let's say, the deeper theoretical underpinnings of Dr. Dispenza's teachings, we have to touch on the quantum world.
Ah, yes, the quantum connection.
He consistently integrates concepts from quantum physics into his framework. He suggests that our consciousness isn't just this isolated phenomenon happening inside our skulls, but that it actively interacts with an unseen quantum field, this realm of infinite possibilities. He talks about having 1 foot in the quantum world. What does he mean by that?
What's truly fascinating here, and maybe the most mind-bending part for many, is how he explicitly ties our internal state, our thoughts and emotions, directly to this quantum reality.
Okay.
The core idea, drawing analogies from quantum physics, is that the future isn't fixed. It doesn't pre-exist as a single predetermined path that we're just walking down.
So no predetermined destiny.
Not in this model. Instead, the future exists as a vast wave of infinite possibilities, all coexisting simultaneously within this quantum field. A bit like how an unobserved particle in quantum mechanics exists in all possible states at once until it's observed.
Okay, the observer effect.
Kind of analogous to that, yes. He proposes that by combining that clear, focused intention from the mind, knowing precisely what you decided to create, with the elevated emotion from the heart, the powerful feeling of already having it.
The coherent signal we talked about.
Exactly, that coherent, energetic signature. An individual can, in essence, act as the observer who collapses the wave function, selects a desired possibility from that infinite field, and draws it into their physical 3D reality.
So you're literally choosing your future from a sea of potentials.
That's the concept. It gives a very active, conscious role to the individual in creating their reality. He uses analogies like your intention being the blueprint and your elevated emotion being the charge or the magnet that draws that specific reality to you from the field.
Okay, wow. So our thoughts and feelings aren't just internal background noise. They're like an actual electromagnetic signature we're constantly broadcasting.
Constantly, whether we're aware of it or not.
And this signature, this frequency we're emitting based on our dominant state of being, is what actually influences what we attract or resonate with from that vast sea of quantum possibilities.
That's the hypothesis. It's like tuning your internal radio. If your inner state is predominantly one of lack, fear, worry, resentment, you're broadcasting a frequency that can only really resonate with more experiences of lack and worry.
You attract what you are, energetically.
Essentially, yes. But if you can consciously shift your internal state through the methods we discussed to one of abundance, gratitude, wholeness, joy, you start broadcasting a different frequency. You tune your internal radio to a different station.
A station that can then bring new, more abundant possibilities into your experience, allowing them to materialize.
That is the proposed mechanism. You align your energy with the potential reality you wish to experience.
And this ties back directly, I imagine, to the kind of underlying message you find woven through all his work, like in those quote collections, 50 Joe Dispenza quotes to awaken your greatness.
Absolutely. Quotes like, your personality creates your personal reality. Or another one, the moment you decide to be something other than what you are, you begin to change.
Simple statements, but they powerfully reinforce this idea of the mind's immense creative power, don't they?
Immense creative power and also responsibility. He's essentially saying that who you are being your consistent inner state of being, your dominant thoughts, your habitual emotions, your attitudes, fundamentally shapes what you experience in the external world.
So if you want a different reality, say a more abundant one,
you must first become a different person internally. You have to change your state of being first. The reality follows the being, not the other way around.
this emphasizes such a profound sense of responsibility for our experience, but it's also incredibly empowering, isn't it?
Hugely empowering. It means moving beyond just simple positive thinking or wishful thinking. It's embracing the belief, or at least the possibility, that you can consciously, actively participate in creating a reality.
It's a fundamental shift in your relationship with reality itself, from
Right.
being maybe a passive recipient or even a victim of circumstances.
To becoming an active co-creator, it suggests that the limitations you perceive in your life, financial or otherwise, might not be immutable external facts. They might be internal programs, patterns of energy that you actually have the power to observe, dismantle, and rewrite.
And when we connect this directly back to financial abundance one last time,
Yeah,
the implication is crystal clear.
it really is. By perceiving yourself differently, by acting from a place of inherent wealth consciousness, by embodying a state of already being abundant, feeling grateful, generous, secure, as opposed to operating from a state of lack or envy or desperately wanting.
You align yourself energetically with those quantum possibilities of prosperity.
You align your signature, your broadcast, with the frequency of wealth before it arrives in your bank account. And by consistently holding that state, you draw that corresponding reality into your experience.
It's an internal revolution that, in his view, sparks an external evolution.
Uh,
You are, in essence, becoming the magnet for the financial reality you desire by first embodying its energetic signature.
that's the core message.
So it's about realizing that the potential for financial freedom, or any desired outcome really, isn't something out there that has to be chased down or wrestled into existence,
No.
but rather something that could be manifested, drawn forth, through a conscious alignment of your internal state, your thoughts, feelings, your being, with those infinite possibilities in the quantum field. It truly reframes the entire concept of manifesting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
From a passive wish to an active internal process of
A
creation.
very active, moment-by-moment process of becoming.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up this really fascinating deep dive, let's just quickly recap the core ideas we've explored from Dr. Joe Dispenza's teachings, specifically around this mind manifestation connection.
Sounds good.
We started right at the foundation, didn't we? That intricate physical connection between your mind and your brain, understanding that mind is the brain at work.
Mm-hmm. And how changing your mind literally means changing your brain's neural pathways through neuroplasticity,
Mhm.
shifting your internal programming.
Then we moved into the crucial role of elevated emotions, things like gratitude, joy, and that concept of heart-brain coherence.
Right. Learning how your feelings combine with your focused intentions to create a powerful energetic signature, a broadcast signal you send out.
We also touched on that idea of becoming divine, not just thinking about the future, but actually embodying it now, fundamentally shifting your identity, your state of being.
Becoming the person who already has what you desire, energetically speaking.
And we looked at how meditation serves as that powerful, practical gateway to transformation, the tool he provides.
Yeah, enabling you to intentionally shift your brainwave states, get beyond the critical conscious mind, and directly access and reprogram your subconscious, imprinting new possibilities.
Including possibilities for financial abundance. And we even heard how real people are trying to apply these ideas, reporting both, profound successes and also some very understandable frustrations and challenges along the way.
Getting that real-world perspective.
Absolutely. And finally, we connected all of this to his integration of the quantum world.
Yes, the idea that your consciousness isn't isolated, but interacts with this field of infinite possibilities.
And that your focused intention combined with elevated emotion can, in Dispenza's framework at least, actually collapse those possibilities, those potentials, into your physical reality.
It's a really holistic approach, isn't it? It truly integrates mind, body, energy, consciousness, and potential reality.
It really does. And these teachings, whether you fully embrace the quantum aspect or focus more on the neuroscience, they truly offer a transformative perspective. They really shift you from potentially feeling like a victim of your circumstances.
To becoming a conscious creator of your life, or at least attempting to be.
Right. It's a profound invitation to take agency over your inner world, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, with the promise, or at least the compelling suggestion, that your outer world will eventually follow suit. Not just by random chance, but by conscious design.
It puts the power and the responsibility squarely back in your hands.
It really does.
Yeah.
And so we leave you, our listener, with this thought to maybe ponder long after our deep dive ends today.
If you truly possess the ability, even just potentially, to change your brain, to sculpt your very mind, and to influence your reality through your focused intention and your elevated emotion, what new possibilities will you now begin to seriously explore for yourself?